There is a small white powder sitting in the canning aisle of nearly every grocery store in America, tucked between the pickling salt and the pectin, that will strip away rings of hard water crust a person has been scrubbing at for years. It costs about $3 a bag. It does not scratch your fixtures. It does not fill your kitchen with fumes that sting your eyes, and it works on the very stains that plumbers charge good money to grind off with wire brushes and acid washes, the ones that build up pale and stubborn around your faucets, inside your kettle, along the bottom of your toilet bowl where the water sits still and never moves. Your grandmother likely had a jar of it in her pantry, though she probably called it by its plain name and never thought twice about it. Because in her day, it was simply a kitchen staple. She did not have a water softener system with a payment book sitting in a drawer. She did not have a serviceman coming twice a year to bleed the lines and sell her a new tank at a bigger price than the last one. She had a spoon, a little warm water, and a bit of patience, and her fixtures shone the way yours can too. My name is Anna Beiler. I keep house with my husband on our farm here in Lancaster County, and our well water runs about as hard as water gets in this part of Pennsylvania. So I have had a great deal of practice with this particular trouble on everything from the milk house sink to the kettle we keep going on the stove most mornings. I am going to tell you plainly what this powder is, what it does, what it will not do, and exactly how to use it correctly on every fixture in your home. Because a method used the wrong way wastes your evening and turns you off the whole idea before you have given it a fair chance. If this is the kind of plain, useful help you came looking for, go ahead and subscribe, and tell me down in the comments what state you are watching from. Now let me tell you what is actually happening on your faucet and in your kettle, because once you understand it, the fix stops feeling like a mystery and starts feeling like plain common sense. When you look at that gray-white crust ringing your shower head or crawling up the inside of your toilet bowl, your eye tells you it is dirt, the same as any smudge you might wipe from a counter. So you reach for the scrub brush and the strongest cleaner under your sink, and you go at it with your arm until your shoulder aches and you manage to knock off a little of the surface, and it looks better for about a week. Then it comes back, thicker in the same spot than it was before, because scrubbing was never going to solve the actual trouble. You were fighting the wrong battle the entire time. That crust is not dirt in the way a smudge of grease is dirt. It is mineral, plain and simple. Your water, especially well water like ours here on the farm, carries dissolved calcium and magnesium picked up from the rock and soil it traveled through before it ever reached your tap. You cannot see those minerals while they are dissolved in the water. They are invisible, riding along in every glass you drink, every load of wash you run, every pot of coffee you brew in the morning. But water does not stay in one place forever. It splashes on a faucet and evaporates into the air. It sits still in a toilet bowl and slowly loses a little of itself to the room day after day. And when the water leaves, the minerals it was carrying do not leave with it. They stay behind, and they harden, and they build, layer upon layer, month after month, until you have the pale crust you have been scrubbing at without any real success. This is why scrubbing never wins for long, no matter how hard you go at it. You are removing only the surface of a mineral deposit that your own water is actively rebuilding every single day you use it. The stain you scrub away this week will have a little of itself back by next week, because the water that made it in the first place has not stopped running through your pipes. You are not fighting a stain sitting still on your porcelain. You are fighting the mineral content of your water itself, day after day, and a scrub brush was never built to win a fight of that kind. What you need instead is something that does not fight the mineral, but undoes it from the inside. Something that reaches into that hardened deposit and unlocks it back into a form the water can carry away on its own, the way it was always meant to before it ever had the chance to build up in the first place. That something is citric acid. It is a plain, food-grade powder made from the same souring compound that gives lemons and limes their bite, sold dried and crystallized in most grocery stores for home canning and pickling. There is nothing exotic about it, and nothing hidden behind a laboratory door. It is not a chemist's invention with a patent number stamped across the label. It is a natural acid, gentle enough that home cooks use it to preserve the very food their families eat, and strong enough, once you understand how to use it correctly, to dissolve calcium the way vinegar dissolves an eggshell left sitting overnight in a jar. Here is why it works, and why it succeeds where a scrub brush fails every time. Calcium buildup is what chemists call a carbonate, a hardened mineral salt, formed when calcium bonds tightly with carbon and oxygen in the water. Citric acid has a particular hunger for calcium of exactly this kind. When the powder meets water and touches that hardened deposit, it binds directly to the calcium ions sitting locked inside the crust and pulls them loose from whatever surface they have been clinging to for months or years. The mineral that was solid and stubborn against your porcelain turns back into a form that dissolves in water again, the very form it was in before it ever built up. Once dissolved, it rinses away with nothing more than a wipe and a splash of clean water. You are not scraping the crust off with force. You are unlocking it from the inside and letting your own sink carry it quietly down the drain where it belongs. That is the whole difference between the two approaches, and it is worth holding on to. A scrub brush is a fight you have to keep having over and over, for as long as you own the house and the water keeps running hard. Citric acid is a key that turns the mineral back into water and lets it leave on its own, without you standing there wearing out your arm against something that was never going to give way to force alone. I want to be honest with you about what this reaches and what it does not, before you go and use it somewhere it was never suited for and think the whole method has failed you. This is for mineral scale, plain and simple, nothing more and nothing less. It works beautifully on faucets, shower heads, the inside of a kettle or coffee maker, glass shower doors gone cloudy with lime, drinking glasses that have gone dull from the dishwasher, and the stubborn ring around a toilet bowl at the water line. It works safely on stainless steel, chrome, ceramic, glass, and most plastics without dulling the surface underneath. It is not the answer for rust stains, which come from iron rather than calcium. It is not the answer for soap scum, which is mostly built from fat and body oils rather than mineral, though the two often sit side by side on a shower wall and confuse people into thinking they are one and the same trouble. And it is not something you want sitting for hours against natural stone such as marble or unsealed granite, because the acid can dull and etch that surface if left resting too long. Match the tool to the actual trouble in front of you, and it will not let you down. If this is doing you some good so far, subscribe and turn on notifications so the next one finds you when it is ready. Now let me walk you through the doing of it, fixture by fixture, because it is about as simple as anything you will do in your own kitchen this week. You will want a bag of citric acid, sold plain in the canning aisle near the pickling salt, or in some stores near the spices and baking supplies. It runs $2 to $4 depending on where you shop, and a single bag will carry an average household through the better part of a year. You will also want warm water, an old toothbrush, or a soft cloth set aside for this purpose. And if you are working on something you can fill, like a kettle or a coffee maker, that job is easier still. For a faucet or a shower head, the method could hardly be simpler. Mix 2 tablespoons of citric acid powder into 1 cup of warm water and stir until fully dissolved. Clear, with no grit at the bottom of the cup. Soak a rag in that solution, or a few paper towels, and press them directly against the crusted area, wrapping them snug so they cling in place rather than sliding off. If the buildup is heavy on a shower head, fill a small plastic bag with the solution and tie it around the head with a rubber band so the whole fixture sits soaking undisturbed. Leave it sitting for 20 to 30 minutes. Check it partway through because a light buildup may loosen after 10 minutes, while a fixture gone a long while unattended may want the full half hour or more. When the time is up, take the rag or bag away and wipe with a clean cloth. For any spot still holding on, a gentle pass with the toothbrush finishes the job, since the acid has already done the hard work of loosening it. Rinse well with clean water when finished, because you do not want acid sitting indefinitely against metal fixtures, even a mild one such as this. For a kettle or a coffee maker, it is even less fuss than the faucet method. Fill the reservoir with water. Add about 2 tablespoons of the powder for a standard kettle, a bit more for a larger coffee maker tank, and either bring the kettle to a boil and let it sit off the heat for 20 minutes, or run the coffee maker through a full brew cycle with nothing but the solution inside, no coffee grounds, no filter, or an empty filter to catch any loosened debris as it flows through. Follow that with 2 full cycles of plain water to rinse the acid completely from anything that will touch your food or drink afterward. You will taste no citric acid in your next pot of coffee. It rinses out completely and leaves nothing behind but a cleaner kettle than you have had in a long while. For a dishwasher gone cloudy inside, or glasses that come out permanently dulled, no matter how careful you are with the soap, pour a 1/4 cup of the powder into an empty dishwasher and run a full hot cycle with no dishes inside. The same mineral fight clouding your faucet is etching a thin film into your glassware with every wash. 1 empty cycle a month keeps the whole machine, and every glass, considerably clearer. A washing machine leaving your whites a little gray, or your towels rough and scratchy, has the same trouble hiding in its drum and hoses. Run an empty hot cycle with a 1/2 cup of citric acid once a month, and your next load will come out softer and brighter. For a toilet bowl, this is where the method truly shows what it can do, because the ring at the waterline is often the worst buildup in the whole house, built slow over years with nobody paying it any mind until it has gone thick, dark at the edges, and thoroughly stubborn. Shut off the water valve at the base of the toilet, flush to lower the water level in the bowl as far as it will go, and then pour a generous amount of the powder, 4 to 6 tablespoons, directly onto the ring and any exposed crust you can see. Add just enough warm water to make it into a thick paste that clings rather than runs off down into the bowl. Let that sit for a full hour. Longer still if the ring has been building for years and years, since older buildup wants more time for the acid to work its way all the way through the thickness of it. Then, scrub lightly with a toilet brush, and you will find crust that has resisted every bottle of blue cleaner in your cabinet, lifting away without much of a fight at all, because the acid has already done the unlocking, and the brush only finishes what was already loosened underneath. Here is the part where most folks give up too soon and never see the real result. So I want you to hear it plainly before you try this yourself and lose heart partway through. On a fixture that has gone years without proper treatment, one soaking will not erase the whole of it in a single evening. You will see real improvement, often a great deal of it, but a deposit built up over 5 or 10 years was not laid down in 20 minutes and will not always vanish in 20 minutes either, no matter how strong the acid or how faithfully you followed the method. This is not the method failing you. This is years of mineral finally being asked to let go after a very long stretch of nobody asking it to. Do the soak again a day or 2 later, and you will see another layer come free, paler and thinner than the last one before it. For a badly neglected fixture, 3 or 4 gentle rounds spread across a couple of weeks will often finish what 1 round could only begin. Patience here costs you nothing but a little time between soakings, and it is a small price to set against years of accumulated crust that scrubbing alone was never going to remove on its own. Let me lay out for you, honestly and evenly, what is good about this way of doing things, and what is not, the way I would want it laid out plainly for me before I tried something new in my own house. What is good about it is a great deal. It is inexpensive. A few dollars for a bag that lasts a household the better part of a year, set against the cost of replacement fixtures when hard scrubbing finally scratches the finish beyond saving, or against a plumber's bill that will only need repeating next season. It reaches the actual cause of the staining, the mineral itself, rather than only scraping at the surface, which is the very reason it does not simply return the way a scrubbed stain always does within the week. It is gentler than the harsh acid blends sold under fixture cleaner brand names, most of which contain this very same acid, diluted and marked up considerably. It works across every fixture an ordinary home actually has: sinks, kettles, coffee makers, dishwashers, washing machines, shower heads, toilets, all with the same bag of powder. And it is something you can buy this very afternoon and start using this evening. No appointment, no service truck to wait on through a whole week. And what is not so good, told just as plainly, because I will not sell you only the bright side of anything and call it the whole truth. It takes real time, 20 minutes to a full hour depending on the fixture, and it is not suited to a person wanting an instant wipe and shine result. It wants soaking time, not scrubbing effort, and going at it early with elbow grease undoes half the benefit for very little gain. On heavy years-old buildup, it wants repeating, which some find discouraging when they hoped for a single treatment to finish the job. It should not sit for long against natural stone, so know your surfaces first. And though it is a gentle, food-grade acid, it is still an acid, so keep it away from small children and pets while it soaks, the same respect you would give any cleaning substance under your sink. Now, I would like you to sit with one thing for a moment, because to my mind it is the heart of this whole matter. A $3 bag of citric acid, used correctly and given a little patience, will lift mineral buildup that a hardware store shelf full of specialty fixture cleaners, most of them selling this same acid at 10 times the price under a fancier label and a picture of a sparkling faucet, promises to do and often does not manage nearly as well in practice. And it reaches deposits that a plumber will charge you $80 or $100 a visit to grind away with tools built for exactly that purpose. A bill that repeats every year or two for as long as your water stays hard, which in most places is forever, because hard water does not soften itself with the passing of time. So how can it be that the cheap powder in the canning aisle outperforms the expensive bottle on the cleaning aisle, and hardly anyone thinks to tell you so? The honest answer is a plain one. There is very little profit in a $3 bag that lasts a household a full year or longer. There is a great deal of profit in a bottle sold every single month, marked up many times over the raw acid inside it, with a brand name and a sparkling faucet printed across the label. A cheap, plain answer sitting quietly in the canning aisle does nobody's marketing budget any good, and so nobody spends money telling you it is there. The fancy bottles get the advertisements. The plain bag beside the pickling salt gets none at all, and so, generation by generation, fewer people think to reach for it, not because it stopped working, but because nobody was left telling them where to find it. I do not think of that as some kind of scheme, with men sitting together in a room planning out how to keep you in the dark on purpose. It is simpler than that, and in its own way stranger too. It is only that a thing which solves your trouble once and cheaply gives nobody a reason to keep talking about it afterward, while a thing you must buy again and again gives someone every reason in the world to keep it in front of your eyes. The knowing did not disappear because it stopped working. It faded quietly because it worked too well and too cheaply to ever earn itself an advertisement. So here is what I would ask you to do this week, while it is still fresh in your mind and easy to remember. Walk into any grocery store and find the bag of citric acid in the canning aisle, right there beside the pickling salt, where it has been the whole time. Mix 2 tablespoons into a cup of warm water for your faucets and shower head. Soak your rag and give it the full 20 to 30 minutes without going at it early with a brush before the acid has had its chance to work. Try the toilet bowl treatment on your worst ring and give it the full hour it asks for. Run an empty cycle through your dishwasher and washing machine and watch your next load of glasses and towels come out clearer and softer than they have in a long while. If the buildup anywhere in your home is old and stubborn, do not be discouraged when one round is not the whole answer by itself. Come back in a couple of days and do it again, and watch how much further it goes the second time, and the third. Then come back down here to the comments and tell me how it went, and how old your house is, and how hard your water runs, because I am always curious which fixtures give people the most trouble and in which parts of the country the water tends to run hardest. I read every single one of them. Thank you for sitting with me through this. Subscribe if you want more old household wisdom, and the next video is right there on your screen when you are ready for it.